Good evening, everyone, to this makeup stream. I guess for missing it Saturday. I appreciate everybody that took the time, I guess, to check out Spline Design Studios Saturday, which I know this is obviously a day late, but yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make this up for sure here. So I'm just getting some things set up here. I don't want to waste. Didn't want to waste too much time. There's quite a bit actually that I want to go over, even more so than what I was going to have in the first place, as far as doing the stream. So one of the things that I got going on here, I'm working on the other monitor here, creating a animated television screen for a simulation, a racing simulation. And what it involves is to create the frames to go along with it. So I figured I'd go ahead and show that off just a little bit. I have all these frames down here from a replay that was saved from that particular racing simulation, that being NASCAR Racing 2003 season. And yes, I did say that right, it's 2003 season. It's a 15-year-old sim that still gets used pretty heavily, and obviously very moddable. So, and I know something else I forgot to do once again. Give me a second. Alright, there we go. I always forget that uptime. I was only going to put the uptime in there. It will be about 5 minutes off, but that's okay. That'll work. Okay, so just making sure I get that up there. It helps in the archives in particular, as far as like if looking for something in specific, as a part of the stream, as far as anything that's gone over during the stream for this, you might have some particular, so that uptime, I feel it kind of helps whatever finding particular spots, be it the fact that the streams do get put up on YouTube as an archive. So either way, as far as like checking the timestamp on the YouTube archive or up on the stream itself, I feel that kind of helps. So, as I was saying, the particular, so all these frames I've saved as a screenshot from the racing simulation itself, and these are all saved at 1920 by 1080, which is the resolution that I have set for the game itself. That's the screen, monitor resolution. So that is not compliant, keeping in that resolution. It is not compliant. Not only that, but because I have so many, the file sizes would be ridiculously big, large. So what I necessarily have to do is to optimize that I have. Since I have 52 frames, I don't want to make them so large that it makes the MIP file in this case for this racing simulation so large and non-optimized. So what I've been playing around with is this is the first frame that I captured from the replay from the simulation once again, and this is the second frame, and this is the original size. This is what I downsized it to. Now this one here is compliant to making the texture for where I'd be applying it. It's compliant, as far as in a Power 2. So by a Power 2, this one's 256 by 128, and all I did to do that, this is what Paint Shop, as well as any image processing software, such as Paint Shop Pro as I'm using, or even Photoshop CS6, tends to do. So this is the original image, and all I did was resize it. In this case, I have the option to do a maintaining aspect, which I don't want to do that because the height wouldn't be compliant to a Power 2. The width would be, obviously I put that in manually, so what I do is I take the maintain aspect ratio off and just adjust this manually. And it doesn't, one of the other things I guess is by doing this, it doesn't really hurt too much. And I feel this size will be fairly reasonable as far as creating that into a MIP. It won't be so large, but you still get some clarity in it. So you can see from what the original one was, and I can bring this back. So here's the original image. Let me slide this over a little bit. Yeah, you could show this a little bit better. So you can see the original image as it looks, and this is what I want it down to. So I'm going to do an image resize. I'm going to do 256 by 128 because that is compliant to what we need to make our texture for our 3D model that we'll eventually get into for our animated screens. So just make this down, and then all I have to do is just do a normal view like this. So this is the size of all of our frames. That's what we'll do for all these frames. So I'm just going to scoot these up here. So as I do these, I can just scoot them up here. That's fine. I can lay them on top of each other in the workspace. So we're just going to go one frame after the other. This is frame 3. And what's really nice about the screen capture, I guess as far as the screenshots that I create for the simulation, it numbers them. So as I take them from the replay, it'll actually put, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 52 in this case. So that's very useful. So all I have to do is just resize all these. Whoops. Just do an image resize. It's already still set. And I'll just go ahead and, whoops, I didn't want to do normal full screen, no, my bad. I want to do normal screen, normal view, so do view, normal view, just to kind of put it up the same size as the rest of them. So here's screen 4, and this is a rather tedious process, but to be honest, it shows off very nicely when you do this. It's a lot of time to do it, but it's worth it. That's pretty much all I got to say about that, I suppose. It's to make some custom custom frames on your video screen within the track, and I'll bring that up in a minute. In fact, I can probably bring that up right now. I'll just minimize this for a second. Let me bring up, I don't know if I got it in here or not. Check might be in here. Yeah, it's in here. I can bring this up this way. Alright, so bring my little application up here, and I can at least show you what it is we're trying to apply this to. Let's go back up to here. Get to the right folder. So this is roughly the track, and this was a scratch build way back at the end of 17 going into early 18. 2018 that is. So it's still loading a little bit. Let's give it a minute. I think. There we go. Yep, sometimes it I think it was showing up right on the screen, on the stream I should say, but yeah, so I can pan this over using my little track viewer. So this doodad right here, this is what we're going to be making animated screens for. And primarily all we're going to be focused on is just this area. This area will eventually get some kind of a race condition going across it as well. For now, all we're going to do is script, basically build this screen so that they're animated, so they have some pictures going across it during a race session. So this is Bristol Motor Speedway, as you can probably tell from that image on there. That's a static image. That's what will stay in there, and all the other sessions, as far as only in race mode, we'll put some frames going across it, which will be 52. And the way you can set it up in this utility that I'm in, it allows you to change the speed and all of that of those animations out of those 52 frames that we're making. So eventually we'll get into, I have it isolated as far as just for that to make that animated screen, so that we can apply that in 3D Max, apply our image appropriately, and go from there. So just show that off really quick. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. Don't need that just yet. I do have the files for... Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and finish off my frames. Yep, we'll just do this really quick. And, you know, like I said, it does tend to be a little bit tedious and a little bit redundant, but it's really not too bad. We only got the 52 frames, so I can just kind of show you how this works. And the fact that you don't have to keep setting the try to keep these somewhat in order. Yeah, just putting them on top of each other. Okay, there's 8. Yeah, so the fact that you don't necessarily on the resize, you don't have to reset all this. It stays right where it's. That's kind of nice too. Just put this in normal view, and then 9 should be down here. Yes. So do an image. Resize. Okay. View, normal view. It gets pretty quick when you get into rhythm with it. After a while. Okay. So. Right. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and keep going with this. I apologize for what it might seem to be somewhat monotonous as far as the same pattern over and over again, but want to give as much as far as how this goes, what you would necessarily have to do, go through, the process to do this. And this is one way to do it. You could necessarily take real life video. This is obviously from a replay in the simulation itself. I find it much easier to do it that way because there's more adjustability as far as like how fast the frames are and what have you. But if you have video editing software to where you can do that same type of thing, I guess, from a real video, as far as real life video, you could do that as well. That's also possible. But it would relatively be the same process as far as complying the image to Power 2, for example, and getting the max, however many number of frames that you need for the object that you're trying to create as well. I've found using 52 frames is pretty decent, and having that run in a loop, that's probably another mention. You would otherwise see the same frames playing over and over again on the screen. So it's not like it's going to be as real-time video as possible without, and that's probably one thing to mention too when you're creating your images. You don't want any major changes. It's kind of like mostly these mystery movies, like how they create a loop, so they can fake out, I guess, the guards. This is what I think of here. You don't want to have any major blips in your images. You want it to have it be as smooth as possible so that when you loop it, it doesn't, especially your last frame, as far as like when it loops back, you don't want it to be so drastic or whatever that it looks obvious. So that's something to consider when you're doing your creating your images for each of your frames. Alright, so just keep going. We're getting there. And I probably don't really need to do this one step as far as normal view, but figured I did that the first couple, so I'll just go ahead and do that. I just want to more or less to keep them all the same is all. But I'm trying not to, and you can get an idea of how long this process actually takes to do that. We'll see this real time, I guess, as far as on the stream. Like I said, I could probably skip the step of, I guess I just do that just to check the image to make sure it doesn't look blotched or anything like that. It's kind of part of my own OCD as far as Yeah, just making sure the image still looks good. Alright, so that was 18, so we need 19. Nope, wrong in there, so where's 19? Alright, where's 19? 41. Is it on the bottom row? Okay, so we gotta find 19, so I guess I didn't put these in order like I thought they did. You little bugger. Where is 19? There's 24. 46. How the heck did it do that? Huh. Okay, hold on. Should have numbered those right in order. That's 30. Alright, what'd you do? Yeah, I thought when I laid these out they should have numbered these. That's 47. Where in the heck did 19 go? There's 19. How did 30 get there? Okay. So somehow 30 got there. I don't know how, but okay. Just have to remember that. So here's 19. Stopped with 18. Should have relatively kept them in order, but not too bad. I didn't screw them up too bad. Alright, so there's 19, so 20 should be here. Nope, that's 31. What the heck did you do? There's 20. Some of them got a little bit out of order. That's nice, like I said, as far as how the textures get numbered from the replay studio of the... Nope, that's 32. Dirty bugger anyway. Yeah, so they stopped 20. Here's 21, okay. It keeps them as much in order as possible. I mean, granted that I have 52 frames, that's... Yeah. Alright, so 22. That's 33. Yeah, I kept them relatively in order. It's kind of sprinkled some of them other ones in there, but that's quite alright. Alright, so it's 22. We need 23. That's 34. Here's 23. Okay, normal view. 24. That's 41. Okay, now we got 24, which I think was down here. Nope. 24. That's 42. Alright, where did 24 go? There's 24. Yeah, so they are kind of mixed up just a little. Not too badly, though. Alright, so that's 24. Now we need 25. 43. 36. Oh my goodness. Alright, come on now. It's got to be close. Come on. 45. Okay, what are we looking for? 25. 37. Where's 25? Here's 26. I don't want that one yet, though. 46. Where did 25 go? Gosh darn it, anyway. Alright, 25. 47. Alright, now we just gotta find 25. 40. Couldn't have got that far. 30. Yeah, these should all be... Dang it, now they're all getting mixed up. Oops. Yeah, because I put that one... Alright, let me just put this over here for a second. 31. I'm going to put some of these over here. 35. Yeah. Looking for 25. There's 32. 33. Those are coming. We're going to need those eventually. 34. Where on earth is 25? 43. Did we lose 25? 36. 44. Man, some of these are mixed up. How the heck? Oh, for crying out loud. Where's 25? 52. We'll find it. So this can somewhat get annoying too, I guess. This is something And again, just trying to show what you may necessarily have to deal with. Here's 27. Alright, let me keep that one here. 40. How in the world did these get so mixed up? 39. 28. Alright, put that one there. Getting to it. There's 51. 52. Where in the heck is 25? Okay. 41. Good grief. There's 26. Alright, so we got 26, 28, 27. Where the heck happened to 25? 46. Just gotta find it. It's gotta be in here somewhere. 45. Here it is. That was weird. I was like way down. Interesting. Okay, so image, resize. Goofy bugger anyway. Okay, so there's 25. 26 should be here. Right here. It's a good thing they're numbered. A good thing about that. Alright, so 26. 27's right here. Alright, so we're getting there. So we're a little more halfway. We got them all here, so there's 28. And, you know, that's probably a fair mention. You know, it's like, you might want to think, it's like, you know, having more frames, you know, think about what you would have to do. If you had like a gazillion frames, you know, like to get more motion, you know, and have more coverage, I guess, and you could do that. That's not so much an issue, but number one, you'd have so many of them, and trying to make them a size that they're not so big, you know, and otherwise unoptimized, as far as the gameplay is concerned. So these are things you have to think of. You know, I've found that doing the 52 frames with this particular simulation works very well without needing to, alright, what are we looking for, 29? Yeah, without needing to take up so much space. And also, if you had more than this, you get the idea as far as how much work that would be. I mean, you could do that, don't get me wrong, but I guess I kind of follow the idea of working smarter, not harder, when I think of something like that. Okay, so yeah, these are getting pretty mixed up now. Looking for 29. 41, so it's probably down in here. 50. 39. Man, these are mixed up. I got them all mixed up now because of opening and minimizing them. That's got to be in here somewhere. 38, come on, 29, where are you? 47. 43, where is 29? Okay, I think, I didn't put it up here, did I already? I think that's 30. Nope. Alright, that's 30, we're going to need that eventually after 29. Where did that go? That's 37. Man, 45. 44. I apologize, folks. 36. Let's put that. Alright, so 35 is this one, right? That's 37. Alright, let me keep that one open just to kind of... We're going to need those... Just looking for 29. Goofy. Dumb thing anyway, okay. 50. Where's 29? Okay, that's 39. Oh my god. 49. Got everything but. 46. 29, where are you? It's gotta be in here. 38. Well, for crying out loud, where's 29? That's 40. Alright, come on, let's just go like this. 52, 51. Didn't want to have to do all this, but it's not giving me any choice. It's got to be in here somewhere. 39. 49. 46. 48. 38. Come on. Gotta be in here somewhere. What if I get this one? 42. Where is 29? 44. How in the world did it miss 29? That is weird. Okay. Well, I know I have 30, so let's do that one. I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to do the rest of these and see where 29 went. Probably what I could do. Yeah, I think that's what I will do. I'm going to separate this pile and put those on here. Alright, so do image, resize, view, normal view. Yeah, we'll just put these in a separate pile. Alright, 32 we need is right here. Whoa. Didn't need to do that. No. Resize that. View, normal view. Oh, I hate when it does that. So view. I just do this. I do a view and then back to normal view. Sometimes you grab the edges, it kind of changes the shape of it. Not a big deal. Alright, so 33. We got 35. Alright, we'll need that eventually. Here's 33. View, normal view. So there's 33, 34. Okay, we're going to need 35 here in a minute. 36. Here's 34. Seeing if anything else like I can show, you know, how you can, you know, use the workspace to your advantage in whatever painting program that you're using. Kind of really taking advantage, I guess, of what I have available to me by creating these two separate piles for the images. Alright, so now we're to 37. And that might be, okay, that's 52. 37, here we go. Okay, 37, 38, 51, put that down there. 50, we'll get to those. 46, we don't need quite yet. 48. 41. Alright, so we start making another stack here. So we have 40, 41, 42, 44, put 47 down there. Here's 38. Okay. And then, like I said, you know, you could skip that step as far as normal sizing it. I just kind of do that for my own benefit to double check the image. Say to 38, so 39. Let's put that down here. Here's 39. Okay. Alright, now we're into 40, which should be right here. Here's 40. So we're almost done. Just a handful more to do. So here's 40, 41. Okay, then 42. Still trying to figure out what happened at 29. And it could very well be I just didn't get it loaded in here. That's possible. Alright, so 43 we need. So that's 49. Where's 43? Here's 43. It's kind of like a process elimination now. So now that got a majority of them already resized. What I'll end up doing once I get these resized will also be, these are in TGA format, as far as the original format that was saved by the in-game screenshot deal. So these will get saved as bitmaps in the resize, so that I can make, I could keep them in TGA, to be honest, but there's going to be a naming process for these too. We don't want to keep this name. We want to keep the number, just not the overall name. So that'll be the next thing. It'll need to step up, and I'll show that in a minute here once I get these resized. So we'll let's continue resizing these. 44. Alright, so now we need 45, which is right here. Getting a little easier to find them now because they're getting them narrowed down here. 52, so we need 46. 51. 50. Here's 46. Alright, so here we go. 46. Then we need 47. That's 48. Here's 47. Alright. Not my mouse pointer slipped us for a second there. That's not too bad. Alright, 48 is right here. Okay, 49. Okay. We're getting there. Home stretch. But like I said, you necessarily get the idea of what you would have to do. You would more than likely, with most of your screen captures like that, it's going to be in the resolution of your monitor. Okay, so that's basically what I started off in this case. Most of the majority of your 3D models that you put together, as far as the textures for this type of thing, they're going to require to put it in a Power 2. Being the fact that this is an older sim, there's still plenty of newer simulations and other games out there that require the same thing, for the most part. So some games may not necessarily have to, but I think a majority of them still require, I guess, a Power 2 format as far as the texture mapping. So more than likely, you're going to end up having to do a resize of whatever custom images that you make in this fashion. So, alright, so view, so we're on our last frame. Resize, and the last one. View, normal view. Now, from here, we can necessarily keep them as, but I think what I'll do now, let's see if I can bring up, I got to minimize this for a second, over on my other monitor. So I'm going to need, yeah, I can bring up, what I do with my Colossus. Where'd I go? Yeah, here it is. It's like, what the heck did I do with that folder? Alright, here we go. So, give me a moment. So I need Oh, I see what I did. So this one's already named. Okay, so that was already screen 1. I think. Yeah, I don't think that was what the. Let me check something here. Checking this off screen here, I realized that, but bear with me a moment while I check. In fact, I can just go from here. Let's go. Just gotta check some things in my model build here as far as the. So, yeah, I think that was not named. Oh, it is screen 1. Okay. Okay, that's what I had to check. So I had to look and see what I had the first frame named as, so that it is okay. That's important. So I'll just keep it that way. Yeah, so that'll be fine. So I can just do 2 would be the next number. So that'll work. Yep, that should be fine. So we'll go ahead and name these. Let me bring this back up here. Welcoming anybody that's coming into the stream. It hasn't necessarily said hey, hi, hello. Just creating some frames, some texture frames to apply to a 3D animated video screen for a racing simulation. So yeah, we're just so we never did find 29. That's the other thing. So I need to go into last year. I must have skipped it somehow. So here's all the original files. Yeah, so I must have just skipped 29. Oh, it is in there. How the heck did I do that? Whoops. So it was in there. Oh, damn. Okay. So apparently I did already resize it, so it is in there. So I must have sized it without even. Oh, damn. Yeah, because when I go to open it here, it already shows that it's in here. I got ahead of myself there, it seems. Okay. So. Yeah. So I won't be able to go 1 through. I'll have to start with 2 because I already have a screen set up for our static, which will serve as our static screen. That's already been established. So I'll have to number these from 2 to 53 in this case because I have 52 frames here. So yeah, just thinking out loud. So 52, 51. Let's just bring these down like so. So apparently we do have all of our frames. I'm just checking the numbers on these as I do them. So we do necessarily need to have all of our frames. Okay. So that stops at 31. Right? 30. Okay. Just making sure. So that's 30. Here's 29. So this should keep them relatively in order now. I'm watching those go down. 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19 should start on the other end. Yep. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, back on that end, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and the first one. Alright, so all I'll have to do, I think I'm just going to save them. I might necessarily create a new folder. I think I'll do that. I'm going to create a new folder in my... Can't see this as all being off screen, but I'm creating a separate folder to put these in. Alright, over there, so... So as I save these, I'm going to go to that folder, which is my Colossus right here. So here's the folder I created. I'm going to switch this to bitmap. See, this is our first screen. I don't know if you can see that necessarily on that. I've already got this one. It's a static, and it's already labeled as screen 1. So for this succession that I'm going to save here, I'm going to save it in the bitmap folder here. And I'm going to start with 2. So I'm going to make sure and once I get one of these saved, it'll be easier for the rest of them. So I just need to establish the name of the first one. Just making sure I spell it right. Colossus underscore screen 2 is where I want to start. Whoops, and I did not spell that right. C-R-E-E-N 2. Alright. In that folder. Now what'll be easier, and I could probably close this as I do it too. I'll leave it open just for now. I'll probably end up closing them as I go. But now what I can do is navigate to that folder, and I can use, once I switch this over to bitmap, I can use this as a guide, and all I have to do is change the number. So that saves a little bit of time instead of having to type it all over again. Okay, so that's all we're doing at this point, is just renaming all these files to comply with our model that we're going to eventually create. Alright, so so I just have to navigate to that folder, and this becomes rather tedious as well, especially keeping it in. See, this is why I should have probably just left them in TGA. In fact, that would probably be a better way to go about it, to save yourself some time. Just keep it in TGA format. You can, in this case, for this simulation, you can create TGAs, MIP files, I should say, from the TGAs. Yeah, now that I think of it, it probably would be much easier, I guess, to do it so that you don't have to select that separate. So what I could do, let me just do that. I'll show you as an example before I get too far here. So like starting over, to save these, I'll do this as a TGA. Just leave them as a TGA. Let me see, TGA. So many file formats. Alright, TGA. Yeah, so the fact that they're all in TGA currently. Alright, so let's do this. We'll do a file. This will give you an idea of how this will work. So like I'll put this back to TGA, and it'll make sense once I save the ones that I haven't saved yet. So that's okay. So there's that one. We'll just leave it at that way. It'll make it save some steps. Like I said, be it the fact that I can save TGA files as a MIP through another utility. For that'll work fine. So do file, save it. Whoops. That's just saved over that. We don't want to do that. So go TGA. All I did was just save over what was already there. Alright. Okay. Now when I open this one, we're going to keep it in TGA format. We're not going to worry about. So this one will be 5. File, save as, and we'll navigate to that folder. So just to save us a little bit of time, navigating to this. See, now we're in TGA. We don't need to change that now. All we need to do is just click on this one and still only change the number at the end. So that saves much more time. Okay, so file, save as, navigate to that folder. This is probably about the only tedious part, is just having to navigate to this folder. Okay, just click on it. Don't double click, because otherwise it'll save over your original image. You know, the image that you're trying to just get the name. Do a 6. Okay, and then just continue that process. So like I said, it does save you a little bit of time. The only thing is just navigating to that particular folder to where this is, where it's being saved. Let's click on it once. Change this to a 7. See, we're maintaining. See, this is kind of putting them roughly in the same pile that we started off with. Alright, just navigate to that folder. And I could have made it a little bit easier and not had a folder within this folder, but I'm trying to keep all my files, you know, so that they're not all helter-skelter in just one single folder, I suppose. So I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself to keep that that working folder for the model cleaned up. And one thing I can do to double check to make sure that I am saving the frames properly, be it the fact that the frames, the way they're numbered from the racing simulation, started off with 1. So as I open all these files up, I should only be 1 greater, because I'm starting with 2. So it's just be 1 step up. So I'll end up with frames 2 through 53 instead of 52, but I'll still only have 52 frames. So that's just one way I can check as I'm numbering these, you know, just playing the new number, that I'm not. Plus, if I did name it wrong and named it as one that's already made, it wouldn't necessarily tell me. It's like, do you want to overwrite? Then you'd be warned, I guess, to. So alright, so just do a save as, navigate to that folder still. Yep. And we're going to keep it as a TGA. Click it once. Yeah, so by the time this is all said and done, we'll end up with a 53 would be our last number. Is basically what I'm looking for. So, file, save as, navigate to the folder. And simply, like I said, just trying to get an idea of what you would have to do, I guess, to apply this type of thing. You know, as far as to get your still frames, this is what you would have to do. And something you should think about as far as how many frames you actually have. I mean, yes, it is nice, and you can do that, to have many more frames than what I'm dealing with here, but that's going to take you a lot longer. So the fact that the process is already going to take you is a while, even doing it this way, you know, kind of optimized and slimmed down, you know. But you could feel free to go right ahead if you choose to click on that once. Yeah, to make as many frames as you want for this, but it will make sense, and we'll get there eventually. As far as with our model, but I did necessarily want to show. Yeah, see, I already have 13 here. This is 13, so I know this one has to be 14. That's one way I could check that I'm doing this. I'm numbering these correctly, and I'm not skipping. You know, naming it one, you know, too many or something else. So I'm still on the right track. But by clicking on this, I'll have that already in the dialog as far as what I wanted to save it as, and just as long as it's only 1 number greater, I know I'm good to go. In this case, that won't always be the case. You might have a different scenario. If you've got your static screen, say for example, name something different, you won't have to do this. You know, it's all in how you name your your static screen, as far as like the non-moving that doesn't have anything going on with it, if you will. So this will need to be 15. Okay, so we'll go to that folder, bitmap. And be it the fact that I do have this labeled as bitmap, that's fine. I can always rename that once I'm done, just so that I don't confuse myself later on. In fact, I'll do that once I get these all renamed, and just put TGA on it. That's not really a big issue. Alright, file, save as. This is going to be 16. Okay, let's click it once, change it to 16. Oh, clicked the wrong one. See, I almost did it right there. Almost named that 18. So we got named it wrong. So that wouldn't have gave me in, but I would have seen it in here too. See, so that's just something to pay attention to. So this one should be 17. You know, so it can be somewhat of a tedious process, but as far as applying custom images for your otherwise custom animated video screen, you know, kind of pays for itself, I think, as far as the gratification, I guess, of having something that's completely custom. Okay, so yep, this one should be 18 now. So I almost made it 18 a couple of frames ago. See, so this would be 19. Whoops. Save it to the right place. Okay, this would be 19. Yeah. See, so it is a very tedious process, but can't say it enough. It's, in my mind, it's pretty well worth it. And okay, this should be 20. Okay, now next one should be here. Yep. Just navigate to that. Navigate to that folder. Yeah. So this is where it'll get a little bit as this window gets filled up, I guess, with all of our images. I necessarily have to scroll, but that's not really too much of a problem. But I think by leaving it as a TGA instead of having to go through bitmap, yeah, that definitely saved us some time. File, save as, navigate to the folder. Yeah, so even if you click on it, it tends to move up anyway, so that you can see better what one you're on. Right, so next one should be 24. Almost halfway done. Alright, so this one's 24. This one will be 25. Which puts us to about the halfway point. Okay, 25. This one's going to be 26. Okay, 27. And then 28. Just narrowing them right down. not really sure if we'll even get to that point as far as compiling, I guess, the actual object that we'll be able to use in these. We'll see how it goes, as far as how far we get with it. But already next to an hour in the stream, you kind of get an idea of how long it would take, to do just this much work. Because we got right into it, didn't waste too much time. So it's already taken about an hour to do this much work. And granted, I had already taken the liberty of creating the frames, saving the frames from the replay. I didn't show that part. That doesn't take that much longer, maybe a good 5-10 minutes. Once you've got a replay, something to go by. So this would be 29. Yep, we're knocking these right out now. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, that's right. See, I almost screwed myself. That's 20, so this would have to be 30. Yep, we're good. File, save as. Kind of freaked myself out there a little bit. Alright, so this would be 30. We are getting there. 31. Yep, so this starts our new pile. It's kind of neat how it does that. It kind of remembers where the last, when it was opened. Yep, so I'll just keep it that way. Yeah, it was made those two separate piles. So that's kind of nice too. Bitmap. This would be 31. Yeah, see, so if I would have double clicked that, it would have saved over that image, which I don't want it to do. So I want to maintain that one. I want it to save it as a new. Okay, so 32. Yep, this should be the next one. Cool. Just keeping them much more in order now. Okay, bitmap. Let's scroll it down a little bit. So this would be 32. Yep, so I think that, like I said, that biggest step is just navigating to the folder. And you could even, make it a little bit easier on yourself. And, like I said, you could make it a little easier on yourself and, put it somewhere that's really quick to get to, and then just move it. I just kind of got a little bit step ahead of myself, just so I could keep everything in the same working folder for the model. You could do it either way. I just like to keep everything in one place as opposed to scattered all over the place and then have to combine it later on. 34. Okay. So next one will be 35, which is 34 here, so this would be 35. Yeah, so the fact that I have this all in subfolders and what have you, that is adding a little bit more time, but not too badly. Alright, so we get that. Scroll that down. This will be 36. Next one will be 37. Okay, this changes to 37. 38. Okay, this one will be 38. Like that. This next one should be 39. so there's the 39. This should be 40. Alright, so Colossus. 40. This one would be 40. $41. Let's see that. No, I keep going to that network. It's the second time I've done that already. Alright, so 41. Alright, next one should be 42. Go. We are getting there, folks. We're getting to the home stretch. Check on. Alright, so 42. 43 should be down here. Let me, something I guess I always never consider here. See if I can bring up some musics. Let's see what I got here. Let's try this one here. Is that playing? Oh. I turn it up a little bit. There we go. Put some tunes on. Yeah. A little muted music. Hopefully that isn't too loud. Yeah, so hopefully that isn't too loud for everybody. Just checking that out. It's fine on my end, but I seem to always have issues with the volume every once in a while. Here, let me check something here really quick. Let me go here. Yeah, let me check this out and make sure. That shouldn't be too bad. Yep, that should be fairly subtle. Hopefully. If there's anyone out there who feels that it's a little too noisy, please let me know. I'll adjust that accordingly. Alright. That should be 43. Alright, 44. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I screwed up already. God dang it. See, I noticed I got that. Yeah, so I have two. Alright, I goofed. I got two 42s. This should have been 43. Yep. I sure did. I goofed. Alright, hold on. Gosh darn it. Yeah, I screwed up. Alright, 42. This should have been 43. Yep, this one's still got the same. Alright, so I gotta redo that. What the heck was this one, though? I don't think I can go back on that either. Huh. Darn it. Yeah, see, that does not know. Alright, hold on. Somehow, I don't know which one that's supposed to be. This should have been 43. Alright, let me see what I did here. I goofed. So 41, 42, 40, 41, 42. This should be 43. That's still named the same one, so I don't... This one should be 44. And this one's 45. Okay, I think I got it now. Alright, so this one needs to be 43. 44. This is going to be 45. Alright. It's not a big deal. So let's change this 45. This one's 43. Yeah. It's based on the fact that that was named. Yep, so we'll do... Yep, save over this one. Yes, that one we do want to save over because we screwed up. So 43. This one would be 45. Wait, that's not even right. Ah, crap. Oh, snap. Did I screw up, man? Because this one will be 45. Oh, snap. 41. Okay, so this one must have to need to be 44 then. Okay. Yeah, this one's 44. So 42, 43, this one's 44. And then that other one's... Okay, I think I got it. This, change it to 44. Yeah, so this one will be 44 file, and I already have a 45 in that folder, so I should go here and save over this one. Yes. Now we're good. 46. Yeah, now we're tracking. Almost screwed up there a little bit. Okay, so now we go 45. This will be 46. This will be 47. Almost double clicked it. Don't want to do that. This would be 48. Alright. 51. We're getting there. Just a couple more to do. 52. 52. Like I said, we should finish at 53. Should be our last one. Three. There. Now we got them all named. And in fact, what I can do, let me bring this right over. So this is the folder, working folder for their model. We have our 3DS in here. It will eventually open up in Max. And we'll create our appropriate pass files. For our static screen, which is this deal, and be it the fact that the static screen is actually a little bit bigger, but the fact that we've got so many in the animation there, again, just keeping them somewhat optimized. Yeah, I could have necessarily went bigger, and I have the original TGAs. If I so chose to want to, but this is where I saved all those images. You can see I started off with the bitmaps, so we saved them all as TGAs. So now that we have all that, we can necessarily do is close this out. Oh, actually, we can just go ahead and exit right out of this. We got those all saved. We don't need to close those all individually. Like I said, I do have the original TGs, but what I am going to do, we're going to rename this one to TGA resized. Let's do it that way. I'm just going to check out my... Alright, that'll work fine. Just check out the playlist there. So yes, these are TGA revised. I do have another folder that includes the original TGAs, which I'll bring that back over. Cut that and paste that into here. So these are the original TGAs prior to resizing them. They came from the racing simulation, screenshots. These are the revised, resized, I should say. What did I name that in a second here? Oh, I see what I did too. I can just actually do this. So this one's TGAs. This will be TGAs 0 resized. So I'll just do. There we go. Just change the view. So these are my originals, and those are the ones resized. So, got that much done. Those are all done. So now what I can do is load up 3D Max, and I think I will use, I'll use this version. Be it the fact that I do have to make 2 pass files, one for the static screen that doesn't have any animations on it, and one for the 3D animations itself. So, and I can show in the script, because this thing will necessarily need to be scripted. That's something else I'll go over here briefly. So in this folder, I have the script. Oops, let me bring it over here. So this has some remark lines as far as what it's for. So what I have outlined here is initially the Colossus screen by itself. That's going to have the static image, which will be, I showed that as far as this will be the static screen. So that'll be one state of it. Okay, so that'll be this pass file that we need to save, and then the second pass file will be for the active screen, which will include all these different textures. In this case, I'm going to have to probably renumber these. Yeah, so I already, actually, I think yeah, I'm going to have to rename those. That's fine. So I'm going to have to make some adjustments in my script here, but it gives you an idea how these are laid out. So these are the MIPS that are used for that pass file. This is basically just copying the mesh from that pass file and copying it so that we can do a modify texture base, which is changing it from the first frame. And that's all we'll have to map is the very first frame for the animation, and then this modifies each one, and then we can then carry that down into our screen anim container. So the F01 and all these will have their own frames based on the sorry about that, I looked at that one. So F02, so on. So the F01 that's listed on here, that's basically going to be the static frame. That's for just the static frame. The F02, that's where it starts the animations. So F02, 3, 4, and this is that part in here. So everything carries down from what you define previous to the last function. Okay, so it has a flow as far as how that script goes. And I know I've gone over this type of thing with scripting for things like that in the past, but that's kind of the idea that you have there. Everything, you establish your lines as far as what you want it to do, and it carries down from that last step. So this is where all the frames, this is when they'll show. Each frame will show at a different frame, so this goes 52 frames, and in this case it probably won't matter much needing to relabel these because it'll still be 52 frames that'll be animated. Just trying to think here. Yeah, it still should end up being 52 frames that are animated. It's just I'll have to relabel these. Yeah, these are labeled wrong. I guess my playlist stopped. Let me fix that for a second. Let's see. Go to my library. Alright, just a second here, folks. Change my library. Alright, where's all my music? There's my music. Alright, let's put some of... What do we want here? Chicken foot. Let's put some of this on. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. A little upbeat, a little more upbeat. I'm not sure if that is quite a little too loud. Turn that down just a tad. Alright, so I think the only thing I'm going to necessarily have to rename is this here so that it conforms to the TGAs that we did here. That's what the MIP will be named to. Whether or not I'll get into that either, I'm not sure, but I will have to rename these for sure. But I don't think anything else is going through this. Should be fine, because there is still relatively 52 frames. Yep, so then here's the frames. This is combine the static screen and the screen am. That'll combine the two separate pieces so that it's one object. And in the weekend state switch container, we use our state switch variable for weekend. In this case, 0 is for testing. When you go out there just to test without any other cars. One would be your qualify happy hour, and 2 is for race, which will show the screen actually animated, which is this container. And then we carry that down into a population switch where you can turn those off. You can turn that object off. And by off, by the depress of the O key in NASCAR Racing 2003 itself. In this case. So you'll have 2 different options as far as to turn it off completely or have it visible with the animated screens. All the screens for that matter. And then this is the name of our 3DO for our output. So that kind of gives you a really quick rundown as far as like what's going on with the script so far for this object. It's just dealing primarily with the animated frames. And as I said, I've got these initially placed, and these will have to be renamed to comply with the names that I have with these here. So just to give you an idea, so I can just go into properties here and copy this. This is what will be involved with that. So that'll start off with like that, and then so on and so forth. And I can basically just copy that and just change the number on that. Just, in fact, I could just go ahead and do that right away now. Yep, and just change this to 3 and go all the way down the line. Yep, just change that to 4. Okay, so yep, let's continue going on with that. Yeah, we'll just rename all these here. Basically just changing the number. Seven. Alright, this one's 9. This one 10. And basically what's happening here is the same thing as when we were renaming them earlier, is I'm only having to increase it by 1. So we're starting off, the animated frames start at 2. Because our very first frame is just our static frame, which doesn't get used in the animation. And again, just trying to show much of the process. I mean, a lot of this is already done. Just a matter of tweaking on the naming conventions in here. No, if it wasn't for having the underscore I guess in between into that, I would only have to change the number. But I'm assuming when I did this, it was just kind of like a placeholder. To be honest, just to kind of give me an idea of the flow of this as far as how it would be. You always find yourself tweaking things as you go. 17, 18, this one's 19. 20. I guess I could just add a 0 there. Just realized that. Be it the fact that my initial save of the line that I'm pasting started with a 2. Yep, see, so here all I have to do is add a 2. Paste, so I have to add a 3. Paste, this would be 4. Oops, 4, dummy. 4, this would be 5. Paste, this would be added 5. This is 6. And 7. And 8. This would be 31. As I said, it does tend to get a little bit monotonous and tedious or whatever to do it, but it's a necessity in order to get it to work properly. And also doesn't take too much in doing this as far as program. Just using a simple text editor. The only thing you have to keep in mind when you edit your PSG script is that you don't want to do just a simple save. You don't want to do save as. You want to do a simple save because you don't want to step on the extension, because most systems, you know, as far as Windows in particular, does not recognize a PSG extension, and if it does, it's not going to comply with this, what you need for this. So, and I'll show that here once I'm done. Pardon me. Get a drink. Sorry about that. Need a little bit of a drink. But anyway, as I was saying, it wouldn't be in compliance with what you need, and I'll show that what I mean here once I get this done. We can save this. Okay, so this one's 35. Okay, so this is 37. 30, 31, 32, 33. Oh, wait a minute, I did something wrong here. Dang it. 31, 32, 33. I went back to 32. Whoopsie. So this should be 34. I just noticed that. So 35. 36. 37. Now, is that right? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. This one should be 38. Alright, there we go. Somehow I got back to 32. I don't know why I did that. Not paying attention. And I would have found that out, you know, later on in the, if I would have saw a skip in the actual animations in the model, I wouldn't necessarily saw that. It would have been pretty obvious. Okay. So 40, this one would be 41. Yep, 39, 40, 41, this would be 42. This will be 43. $45. 46. 47. 48. 50. This should be 50. And this would be 51. 52, and we will end with 53, which is what we want. And as I was saying before, we'll have 53 frames overall, but 52 animated ones. That's the key. Alright. So that should coincide with what we have. Deals here, so we don't need to save these bitmaps. So I'm going to delete these. We started off saving the bitmaps and we split them as TGAs, which is, that'll work. Alright, so now, as I was saying, it's as far as when you save your PSG, always want to make sure you just do a save. You already have it in your working folder. In this case, you got it right here. I don't want to do a save. If I do a save as, and like it, again, Windows, most of your operating systems like Windows don't have that as an extension. See, as it shows right here, it'll save it as a text file. That's not going to work as far as needing to maintain, I guess, the PSG extension. So, what you want to do is once you have your PSG, you want to maintain that extension. And when I say that, like if I go to properties on this thing, this is a PSG file. You don't want to step on this extension. It has to be that extension in order for it to work as a script through your Make 3DO utility to create your 3DO for the simulation. So always want to make sure that you do it as a save and not a save as. So do a save. And the goal is that. So now that's been updated. And we're going on an hour and a half into the stream, making some progress here. We are going to get into next here is 3D Max, which we already have that all loaded. Okay, and we're going to load our 3DS for our static screen and get that established. So we're going to import that. In our working folder, classes. We're going to load this up and completely convert it. Now, the orientation of this thing should already be what it needs to be. And by that I mean we don't need to change where this is located. So we don't need to zero it out. We don't need to do anything because we already have it in existence in our track build. So we want to keep this just like it was. All this is we created this 3DS based on that 3DO. In fact, I'll bring this over here just to show that. Alright, so this particular model, which is Colossus Screens, that's this deal here, and using 3D Sim Ed, which is 3.0. So this here we want this orientation, so that's based on that model. Let's click on it 3DO. So all we did was export that out. And I'm not going to go ahead and do it, but as a 3DS, and that's what I got loaded in Max right now. Okay, so that's using that utility. We've created that 3DS, which is here, and that's what we have loaded in Max. Now the mapping for that here, we're going to create two pass files, as I said. We're going to create one for the static screen and one for the animated frames. And because the mapping is already in here, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Let's go to our material editor, pick the sphere, go to the diffuse, and navigate to our, bring it up here. There's our Colossus folder right here. And for our static screen, we want this deal. This is already a part of the model, but in order to make the pass file and create a new one, you got to have this all, you know, it's kind of like reverse engineering it a little bit. So now we want to apply that to the mesh, so it's all there, it's already all mapped. Okay, and then what we need to do from here, I think what I will go ahead and do is rename the mesh, and this will be static. Change the name of the mesh to static. All this will show up in the pass file too, so I'm just going to do this as static. And then I need to export out to our Colossus working folder here and do this as, I already have this all set up as far as the pass extension, so I don't need to do that. And then just it's a matter of naming it. So I want to save this as, in fact, I'm going to need to refer back to my script. So this is going to be Colossus screen. Oh, did my playlist end again? Hold on a second. Darn, playlist keeps stopping. Alright, let's get some music back going again. Alright, so yeah, I need this. I need it named this. So I'm just going to copy this. Let's copy this and go back into Max. So that's what I need my pass file named for that static screen. Now what I can do is go back into here, and I'm going to a different sphere. Okay, and I'll go like this. And I could use the other sphere, to be honest, but I'll just go this way. So first, let's go into here. I should be able to apply this one. Okay, I'll apply that to that, so that should show up like that. So now our first frame, and that's all you have to have as far as the pass file. As far as the script's concerned, it'll take this one that's set up here and it'll do that modify texture base from this point. So I only need to save a pass file for that active screen, which is going to be named active screen, just like this. And you can name it whatever you want. This is what I've chosen. So I need to save a pass file named that. And this one I'm going to change the mesh name to active. And that'll that'll show up in the pass file as well as the final 3DO. So I can have a better idea, clarity as far as what's going on with the model itself, the finished model. So we change it to that. So we'll export this out. And I've already copied that, so we'll paste. This should be active screen, pass file, save it. Now, I should have those two pass files right there per my script. So that should be good to go. So I can go ahead and close this for now. And that's as simple as that. Now, if this wasn't made, this is obviously showing the example of something that's already in existence. You know, as far as adding to it, be it the fact that the original 3DO didn't have any animated frames whatsoever. It was just static. There was nothing dynamic about it. So we're just, like I said, kind of reverse engineering that model that's already been created as a static item and applying the animated frames. So and based on how our script is done, we only need to do the first frame out of that. I'll open that one up again. So just based on our first frame, and then what it does is it copies that, basically that first frame. So it's taking frame 1, which is that texture for Colossus Screen 2, and it's making a copy of it. Okay. And now that I say that, I might have goofed a little. I actually needed... Okay, I did. I screwed up again. And it's final tweaks that we gotta make to the script. It's not that big of a deal. So based on this pass file, on this container active screen, it's taking active screen. That mesh actually needs to be named plane 01. I could change that very easily, just because I've already changed the mesh to it to active, so I'll just do that. Because this name here reflects what the name of your mesh model, your mesh is in Max as far as your pass file, and I name that active. So based on this container, which includes this pass file, that mesh needs to be named active. And then what it does from there is it takes that first frame, which is this one, okay, and it copies it. So F2 now becomes a copy of that, and then from there, these different frames are going to do a modifier texture base, take frame 2, F02, and that copy of F01, and change it from frame 1 to frame 2. And that just follows all the way through. And those frames up here, that's probably fair mentions, that's already been established. So frame 2 has, if you go up here, frame 2 is actually screen 3, that texture. So this is why you define this first, and that gets used, and this is the flow of this. So it's taking F02, the copy of F01, which is the first frame, and changing it from frame 1, which is the very first frame, like I said, and to frame 2, which moves down the line to this one. So you can see the progression of that as it copies. Do the modifier texture base. All these are going to be frame 1, and it's going to change it from frame 1 to the whatever frame you want it to show next. That's how the modifier texture base works. Okay. Just kind of show that off a little bit there just to give you an idea. So all in this case, I'll have to renumber these two now that I notice this. It'll be... No, actually I don't. These I don't. It'll still be 52 animated frames. Right. It'll still be 52 animated frames. The only thing that changed was how these were named. So there actually ends up ending in 53 because I'm starting with 2 and not 1. Because 1 is going to be our static, which we already did. So the only adjustment I had to make so far in the script is the name of the mesh for active screen. So we're good so far. And then that'll combine it as far as the static screen and the animations, and when those actually show during the weekend state switch variable, and to even include our population switch, whether we want to make it invisible or not, as far as turn them on and off based on the press of the O key within the simulation. So alright, so we're going to go ahead and save that because we did edit that, so we're going to save it. We'll close that for now. So our pass file has been created to accommodate our script, as well as our animated frames, which are all in TGAs. And that's fine. You could do in bitmaps, but it's probably not going to make too much of a difference as far as creating the MIPS for them. I don't know if I'll necessarily go into the process of creating the MIP files for these. That can get kind of tedious. depending on whether or not you're able to get the batch conversion to work for you. I've been able to get it to work sometimes and other times not. What it usually ends up turning into is I have to do each one individually. So just to give you an example, and what I'll do is I'll create a new folder just to put those in. Alright, so let's just do that. So like if I go into this and I'll open this with my WinMip2 utility, which is used to make our MIP files, and go to that folder. So open that up, so that'll open it up in here and it'll automatically have it as a TGA. You want to save it as a MIP. Don't need to change anything else. Just leave everything, the type and the mapping the same. So nothing to do there. So just do a file save as, and then all I have to do from here is just step this back to that folder I just created with the MIPs. So I don't think I'm going to necessarily go into that, but that gives you an idea how that works, because that's going to be another tedious process, I guess, as far as how that goes, because it does have a batch conversion in here to which I haven't been able to get that to work. So when I do a MIP, let's see what this does. Yeah, see, it won't even give me the batch conversion. I have been, it's sometimes successful. It just depends on if you can get that to work or not. It may be beneficial to possibly save those types of textures as a bitmap instead, and it might work better. But for the case of this thing, it's not, because it's grayed out. So just to give you an idea of how that works, once you've got all those, you have to save them as a MIP. So that's what the simulation uses as its texture. So yeah, so if I go back here, go into MIPs, so I got those two MIPs created, and so that's the process for that. We might get back to doing that. We'll see. We'll see how much. We'll look at the time and see where we're at. If that if time allows it. But for now, we've got pretty much everything we need to make our initial model. I'm just trying to think over time, but I don't remember if I did have to see how that works. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. We're done with Max. We're gonna go ahead and we already got what we need, so we're gonna exit out of that. And then what I'm going to do is bring up, and I have this kind of deep in here myself as far as my Make 3D Audio utility. Let's bring this back over here. So I've got it into my program files, because to me it just makes more sense to have it there. So I go to my Make 3DO, wherever you have that located. It's in the root of your hard drive, what have you, wherever it happens to be. And take your files to this point. I need my 2-pass files, my script, and at least the static screen, and the first frame of our animated frames. So we'll paste that in there, and then the first frame of our animated frames, which is this one, so that Make 3D Audio utility can compile that. Okay, that should be all you need for creating that. So we're back to starting. I'm back over. I'm getting a repeat, I guess, of that in the playlist there. Okay, so that's perfectly all right. So now what we can do is bring up a command prompt. All right, let's bring up our command prompt. And what I need to do, and you may not necessarily have to do this, but depending on where it's located, I have to do a change of directory. And then I'll do another change directory to program files. In my case, it's an x86 sandbox Make 3DO. And you, like I said, you might have yours in a different location. Just point to where your Make 3DO utility is located, Now that I'm in that directory, I can queue up the Make3DO utility by typing in Make3DO. That enables the application itself, and now you got to tell it what to do. So in this case, we need to tell it it's going to be a -S for script, and then the name of the script, which in this case is C-O-L-L. No, C-O-L. I always spell that wrong. So C-O-L-O-S-S-U-S for Colossus dot, no, underscore screen dot PSG. So that's our screen. We don't have any other parameters beyond that. We just want it to read that script and compile our 3DO. So we should do enter. And it's already telling me I got a problem here, so what did I do? So could not find mesh object Colossus screen. Alright. Alright, so what did I do? Alright, I gotta look at my script here and see what I did. Oh, I know what I did. See, here's another thing. See, I named that static. See, what it's basically pointing out to me is the mesh that it's pulling from this pass file is not named this. I named it static. So I just have to change my script. So put static on this one. Okay, and then resave that. And that's still in the Make3DO. What I'll basically do, once I know this works, is I'll copy that and paste it into my working folder for my model. Alright, so let's run that again. And I can bring this back up like so. And that should spit out our 3DO. See, it was just that simple. So it'll give you somewhat of an idea of what's going on with the script. In that case, that was pretty easy to find out. It's just telling me that the name of the mesh is not this, as far as in the pass file. So I just have to tell it. Just correct that is all. So here's our new model, and it might bring this up here. Let me see if I open this up here. See, it's going to be pink only because I don't have the MIP in here, I think is why. I believe that's probably why it's doing that. It's because it's got doesn't have the MIPS in there. So if I bring the MIPS in here, it shouldn't necessarily show. In fact, let's do that. Let's bring the MIP over for this one. I'll copy this over there, and it should load. Yeah, bring this in here like this. See if that works. Okay, so that's not good there. So I'm just checking here. That should be. Let me open this up here in Notepad. This is a nice little trick too. If you right click and open up your 3DO model, as far as your compiled 3DO in Notepad, you can see what's going on here. So if I do a find and do a MIP. So it should be Colossus screen 1. It should be right. Interesting. Okay, so I wonder. It might be just because of. Well, let's do that. Let's go to here. I'm gonna get the MIP for this. Let's put that in there. You never really want to go by how it's visible in 3D SimEd. That's probably a fair mention. You never want to go by how your model looks, or you want to look at it either in the game or in Sandbox. Because that's particularly Sandbox, and for sure, as far as like having to save a PTF and all that stuff. But at least use Sandbox to look at the condition of your model. So paste this one in here. Let's see how that looks that way. I think it should be fine. Yeah, see, it's still showing up pink. But I think it's because those are overlaid. if I think of this. So, but like I said, you don't want to necessarily go by how it looks in 3D Sim Ed. I figured if anything, it would have necessarily shown it as like overlaid animated frames with the static, so it might have flickered. So what I am going to need to do is probably go ahead and make all the MIPs, so I can apply this 3DO into the sandbox folder, as far as open up sandbox and get it inserted in there. So without having all the MIPs, it's not going to load the model into sandbox. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out here, put this in my working folder here. Let's just put it here. Yeah, this will work. Alright, so we'll keep that. Now we'll go ahead and make the rest of our MIPs. I'm going to keep this command prompt up here just in case we need to redo something. But I need to make all of our MIPs. So we're going to go through this process then. Open up the WinMip2 utility. And like I said, this is going to be a really tedious process, but so we got those two, so we're going to do 4. And something else I think of too, this is part of the reason sometimes when you use TGAs to create something that doesn't have an alpha channel in it, even though I didn't save these TGAs with an alpha channel in it, when you use a TGA at times, especially for an already constructed object, and make it into a MIP, you might get that magenta color in there, that pink applied to your model, and that's another reason why you might necessarily have to save it as a bitmap instead. We're gonna go through this anyway just to see. We're gonna just, you know, go through the paces of it. So I'm gonna go to change this to MIPS. So this, like I said, this can be a tedious process too without having the batch conversion. So, alright, so 5 MIP. Alright, so now it's already saved, you know, as far as where I'm at there, so I can just go ahead and do that. Yep, that'll be good. So 6 will be next. A little bit of a tedious process, but it's the only way. You got to have all these files in order to get the object to load in Sandbox in this case. So I think 7 was next. Oh, whoops. See, I forgot to change it to a MIP. Tell me. I'll say that. Yep. So 8 will be next. Just going in. This isn't too bad actually. It's a lot of the same motions. It's like that batch conversion sometimes comes in handy when it does want to work. If you can get that to work, yeah, definitely use it. You know, because you're not really changing any of the. You're just keeping it all default parameters for the MIP. You don't need to change the type of the map. So, yep, definitely. If you can get the batch conversion to work on the WinMip2 utility, use it. It'll save you a lot of time. In my case, it's not working for me, so I gotta do these all individually. Alright, so it's just a matter of getting all these built. Ah, crap. See, and I forgot to change it to a MIP. Yeah, trying to get ahead of myself. Alright. 13. Yeah, it's like I said, if the batch conversion would have worked here, I would have had these done already. And the fact that it's not working for me, it's kind of a pain in the butt. But right, so I change it to a MIP. I'll save as. Okay. it was 15 was next. You know, that's another thing, I guess, with this here. You know, kind of lose track, I guess, when you put it in separate folders. I'm just trying to stay a step ahead of myself, as far as, you know, keeping my TGAs in one folder and my MIPS in another, so that way I don't have to. You could necessarily just keep them all in the root folder and just move them afterwards. In fact, that might be easier for you. I'm just taking the initiative to go get a step ahead of myself and keep everything nice and neat in their own folders. Is all. Alright, so 17. Yep. So, yep, just a matter of moving right down the line, saving these each as a MIP for our purposes here. 19 will be next. And just realizing, I guess, my just realized, oh, okay, I was trying to see why that was getting in the way there. So hopefully you still get the point of, let's say this should be 20 should be next. Okay, I guess maybe it's not. Alright, so we got changes to a MIP. Yeah, should be able to see that pretty good. Alright, so that was 20, 21. Yep, so 22 would be next. Yep, other than having that batch conversion to work properly, this is the only way you can do this as far as to get your MIPS made. It is a pain in the rear end sometimes, but something you got to do to have all your MIPS for. That's the only other thing that stinks. You gotta kind of scroll and make sure you're in the right. Having this many number of textures to create. I'm just making sure get them all. Very easy to miss one, that's for sure. Doing it this way. And if I really wanted to, I could go kind of backwards. I could go scroll all the way down and just kind of work my way up to 26 at this point. I might do that. And what I mean by that is like this. So if I close this one here, so when I open my next one, scroll all the way down and just work backwards up to 26. I think that's what it'll do. And it's just so you don't have to keep scrolling down. I guess just that little bit to get the next yeah, breaks the monotony a little bit, I guess is the point I was trying to make. So I'll just scroll down here, get 52, one MIP, file, save as, okay, just going this way, 51. Kind of meet it halfway in the middle type of thing. You can do it however you choose, whatever makes it easier for you. I find this type of thing, when you got to deal with so many, a little bit easier. So why not you go 49? Seven. do find my hand could necessarily get pretty tired. I guess for that, let's take a little bit of a break. Give my fingers a little bit of a break there. So I'm just coming over 2 hours into the stream. Just happened to glance over there. So hopefully get this at least installed to the track and get it replaced, I guess, as far as the static object, and see how that's all coming up there. Whether or not we'll get to see it actually functioning in the game, in the sim itself, we'll see. We'll see how time permits. If we're lucky, necessarily get that far. Because I'd be kind of curious myself as to how it is actually functioning in there, and whether or not we're going to need to make some adjustments to 46 to it all. Whoops. You dirty rat. See, so sometimes when you choose the wrong format, you got to reopen it, because then you don't get the right parameters for the MIP. But probably the one thing that is nice about once you get established where you're saving, you don't have to keep navigating back to it. In this fashion, at least, anyway. So 46, 45. And all I'm doing is working my way back to 26 at this point. Just kind of remembering in my head as far as where I left off. So 42, so next one would be 41. Just working our way back to 26. I think my playlist is ended again. Let me check that real quick. Alright, so we ended that one. Let's go back to... see what else we got here. What else do I have for listening pleasure? Oh, that one's pretty nice. Might do this one. Okay, realize I had that. Yeah, let me do this one here. Why is it not loading? Hello. There we go. Alright, let's put some of that on there. This is a pretty good, I kind of tend to enjoy it, so. Alright, so we're on 41. I think we already saved that. Let's go ahead and just make sure. Yep. Alright, so let's save it. Save it again, not a big deal. So now we need 40. I'll save that as 40. Next to be 39. File save as 39. As 39, 38. File save as 38. 37. 37. 36. Getting there. Save as 36. Get into a rhythm after a while. This next one would be 34. Actually, I think was it 35? I think I got ahead of myself. Yep, it's 35, so it was 34. Doesn't hurt me that it's kind of wasted effort there, but there's 34. Next one should be 33. So this would be 32. Yeah, this really does get tough on the fingers as far as the mouse movements. Even with a fairly ergonomic one that's a little bit more forgiving, I guess, on it, but. Alright, so we got that one saved. Alright, so that was 31, so we need... Was that 31? Yeah, I think it was 31. Oh, so 31. That would be the last one there. So now we're getting to the point where we don't need to scroll down this far. Narrowing it down. Okay, then 29. So 29 and 28. What the world? What did that do? That was weird. So 28. And 27. That should be the last one, is 27, because we already did 26. That's what we're working at, too. 27. And we can check that in our MIPS here. Oh, so it did try to save that as, okay, so we can get rid of that. Don't need that. I think that was the one I saved as a TJ in there. Alright, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Just going through, making sure we have all of them. 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 7, 38, 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Looks like we have them all. So, now what we can do... now, I don't think this is an issue with that. Let me see here. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to select all these. Just want to check something here. So if I put this in here and put all the MIPS in here, that's just to replace. Okay. I think I already did cut that out though. So let's do this. Paste this back into here. Alright. Let's see if that loads. There it goes. Yeah, see, so you do have to have all the MIPS in there. That's probably why it was showing pink, because it didn't have all the MIPS for it. So, answer that question. That, yeah, that removes any doubt as far as that goes. So, looks like our textures are showing on there. We just necessarily need to have all those MIPS available for it to load. That's why it was showing pink, because be it the fact that all those, it goes the same as, but still, you don't necessarily want to go by how it looks in here in 3D Sim Ed. In this case, it should probably be fine. It'll probably look relatively the same, but alright, so we'll just leave that in May 30 for now. That's fine. What I will do is we already got our static screen in there. I just need the MIPS created here, so I'll go ahead and select all once again just to make sure I got them, and paste these into our unpack track folder. Okay, so we got all those in there, and then what I'm gonna do is just rename the model, the original model here, just in case there's anything wrong. I want to maintain. In fact, I'll do it as backup, just to put that on the side, and I'm going to put the new model. Now this should load if everything's gone correctly. Alright, so paste this one. This is our new one. So that's already applied to the PTF. It's the same name as the other one, with the exception to backup that I put on that one. This is our original model. So if we open this up in here again, see, that'll still load. Alright. Now, what we should be able to do is go back into our sandbox. We're going to load our sandbox back up. Alright, just maximize that, and we'll load up. The tracker I was already in. Just take a couple seconds. Just give it a second or two. I know there's a lot of information that I've gone over this evening, so I'm hoping it's fairly understandable as far as what you would have to go through, I guess, to create something of this nature. So it looks like it does load. And be it the fact that this session that we're in is this is a race session. So the fact that the first screen is showing, that's good. That's what we want. So now if we switch the session, we'll put it on testing, which is 0. So if this is on testing, it should have that static screen, which it does. So we know that works. So the frames are actually showing when they're supposed to, based on the session. So if we switch it to qualifying and happy hour, which is a 1, change this value to a 1. Okay, so you do have some people in stands for that session, so we know it's switched. If we go here, it's still on that static screen. And the way we've got our script designed, that's what it's supposed to do. So the fact that that's working as it needs to is phenomenal. Okay. With all that done, now that we know that that works correctly, something I think of, I'll go ahead and close this right away. We're done with that. We know it works right. Okay. Yeah, so something I was thinking of as far as your TGAs here, I'm going to see if I can. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I would have to change them to bitmaps. You can get an idea of how your frames. This is another good reason as to why you want to save them as a bitmap. And it depends on how you've got, like TGAs, I have it open up in Photoshop by default. For my purposes, that makes sense. But one of the reasons why I save them as bitmaps is that bitmaps open up in Photo Viewer, which is just a Windows Photo Viewer. So what I might necessarily do, I'll go ahead and open this up like this, and I'll save them as bitmaps. Okay. And I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, let's save these as bitmaps. Yeah, let me go through this process here really quick. And I'm just going to keep them in here. but I want to give somewhat of an idea of where the benefit is of having them in a format where you can open it up in something that you can progress the frames in a player of sorts, you know, like a slideshow or what have you. So that's why I'm just going to do just a few frames of this just to give you an idea. So I'm going to save these as bitmaps. And I could necessarily bring those other ones that I deleted. But, alright, so, yeah. Yeah, so it starts with 2. I have to remind myself that it starts with 2 on the animated frames and not 1. Alright, so file, save as. So if I just save a few of these as a bitmap, for my case, and I don't want to change, for my purposes, I don't want to change what program defaults, I guess, to open the TGAs, because I want it to open up in PaintShop, but there's no slideshow viewer type of thing to use, I guess, in that format, so, you know, doing it that way. So I'm just going to do a few of these just to give you an idea of why it's beneficial to be able to open your textures once they're created. This just gives you another way. Okay, just do a few of these like that. Okay, so if I open these, now I can watch the progression of it. So it's just a few frames. So if I had them all done, I could see it that way. So that's just one way you can see it without going into the game. You know, creating a new PTF and what have you. From this point, really, what it boils down to, let me see here. I'm just thinking, okay, so now that I have, the only thing that I've changed, the only thing I would have to add are the screens, the MIPS for that there, and this new Colossus model. So I'll have to take this. I don't need to do anything with PTF. This particular model is already attached to PTF. So I need this new model and all of the MIPS, the new MIPS that we have applied to it, at least anyway. And we can check this actually in the sim and see how they work. So that's what we'll do next. So be it the fact we already have, you know, we didn't add anything to the PTF, like I said, so there's no reason to have to, okay, we already got screen 1. I don't need that, I just need 2 through 53, plus the new 3DO. So we're going to copy this. This is all we need. And put that into... Alright, so let's do this. Open a new window. And all I'm going to do... in fact, I'll bring that right over here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm putting that right into tracks directory of the sim. This is the track. Paste them all. Just the files that we've changed. We changed this 3DO, and of course these MIPS aren't in the DAT file. That's already compiled based on our unpack original, or very original unpack. So this is the only thing we've added. This is just for testing purposes. You will eventually want to put that in a DAT file once you confirm that it works. So with that being done, I can now go into the game itself, which had already be set up. We're going to load that. See how this works. It should work out pretty good. Yep, looks like that's coming up pretty good. Yep, no need to adjust the monitor, so that's good. So we're going to go right into a single race. This is the track to which we've applied that to. I've got a list, play a car list in there. So let's just go ahead and load this thing up. So we didn't get any loading issues. That's good. Something I guess I've forgot to... Yeah. I think what I might do is see if I can get into camera control master. That's what I want to do. Alright. So we don't... So far we don't have any loading issues, which is good. That's good. Alright, so let me hide this for a second. I need to load up... Alright, let me go ahead and close all this out. Don't need that anymore. I just want to do that as an example. Alright, so that should all close. Yeah, I want to go into Camera Control Master. See if this is another temperamental program. It's a 32-bit program. We'll see if this actually will work. Sometimes it does, other times it don't. See, I can't even move it. Yeah, I'm thinking it may not work. It's just not letting me move it. That's not good. Yeah. So that may not work. Let me see here. Go into start. Does it show it running? Yep, it does show it's running, but why? Alright, it might be one of those issues where... Do I just have to do that maybe? Let's see. Well, let's see if it'll work. I got a feeling it probably won't, but we'll try it. We will try it. Yeah, what I was thinking and what I should have done is just use the cam hack, but let's see if this will work. Single raise. What I should be able to do is... I haven't used this tool in a while. I think what you necessarily have to do is go to yeah, see, I think what I'm gonna do rather than that, yeah. Bear with me here, folks. We'll get this right. I don't think I want to load this. So let's exit out of that. I'm going to use my cam hack. Because that one I know will work. Okay, so we'll load that. So we get the cam hack loaded. Okay. And... yeah, now we'll go ahead and load the game up. Okay, so just launch the game here. One single race. Alright, now what I should be able to do just trying to remember how that worked again. I think I have to be in my car. Can't remember if it was this one or if it was. Let me see if I do. Yeah, I think that is for camera control master. Yeah. Okay. I remind myself here. Spent a little bit like that. I got the two utilities that I can use, but I think the camera control master is what I do need. The cam hack is basically needed to in your vehicle. So let me go ahead and close that out. I'm gonna try this camera control master again. Ah, now it doesn't even want to load. Bugger. This is a temperamental program. Right, let me see if I can do... Sometimes it'll work this way, other times it won't. So let's just see. Let's see here. Yeah, so I think it is what I thought it was. So like you're in this view here, and I can push. Yeah, it's not loading. That's what I thought. Yep, so that is not going to work. So you can kind of get a sense, and I guess I can do either way here. You'll be able to see, you can see from this vantage point, at least anyway, either one of these. It's on the static screen. We're in practice session right now to show us here. So if we, as we go through these different modes, whoops, actually I gotta not go here, I gotta go through here. Let's go to qualifying. Okay, load that back up. You can see it's still on the static screen as it should.
Drivers, to your cars.
As it should be. Okay, so if we go to happy hour, it should be the same. Static screen. So far it's working like it should. Now if we go to race, now the screens are showing. But what I forgot to, what I did not do, I already realize this now. What I didn't do is I didn't apply the actual animations in Sandbox. So there is a PTF adjustment that you would have to make. So yeah, you can kind of see this now. The first screen is showing during a race session. Okay, so what I didn't do, that's a pretty simple fix. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. We don't really need that. The camera views that we have there will work to our advantage. So far it's working. So what I do need to do is go in our Sandbox again. Load the track, and then what we need to do is on that model now, that new model for that object. Let's give this a second or two. Alright, so now if we go into our object placement view, we're going to zoom in on that, and I think it might be easier, yeah, to just navigate to Colossus screens. So let's scroll through this. I think I might have, was it up at the beginning? Might have been. Let's go up to the beginning here. Century, Colossus bottom. So we got it in parts. So here's our screens. That's what we wanted. As a fixed object, but now we need to add animation, an animation node. So we do animation, add it, and the number of frames, which is 52 animated frames, and we want them. This is where you can adjust it as far as how fast they go. I'm gonna try like 5 frames per second. That might be too fast. I'm trying to remember. I might have to look on another track that I have that applied to. Yeah, let me save this just for now. I think 5 frames per second I think is good. I can't remember for sure. I'm just going to switch this back to geometry, file, save that as a new PTF. And I'm just going to put adjust Colossus. Yeah, that's good. And we'll save that. Close that. Oh, I didn't want to get all the way out. That's fine. Reload it. I didn't necessarily want to get all the way out of it. That's alright. So we're just going to load up. I'm going to try this. This another one here. I just need to double check, I guess, with another animated screen. And you can adjust that to whatever, but I want to say it is 5 seconds per frame based on the 52 frames. Just gonna give this a second to load. Come on. There you go. Alright, so go to Object View. Now this one has, let's check this out here. So this one here, 15 frames a second. Okay, so that's a little too slow. I knew it had a 5 in it. So based on this 52 frames, this is how I built this model in much the same fashion. Yeah, 15 frames per second works. So that would have been a little too slow if I kept it at 5. But see, it has the animation node just like I applied on the other track. Alright, so we'll just go geometry. Wow. Just do a new. And we'll go back to that track and adjust that accordingly. Alright, so we'll open up our PTF we saved for that. Is it there? Looks like it is. Cool. Oh, maybe not. Alright, so that is there. So now I want to navigate to that deal. So it should be excuse me, folks. Screens. So we got our animation just changes. Add it to, let's make it 15 frames. Alright, so now we can save that. I always get in the habit of going back to geometry view when I save. I find a lot of times Sandbox gets buggy, and if you don't save it in geometry view, it corrupts the PTF sometimes. Not always, but yes, I want to save over that one. In this case, I didn't make any other changes to it other than that. Most of the time, you wouldn't necessarily want to create a new PTF every time, just to eliminate. But for this case, that should be fine. So now what I'll do is we do need to apply that new PTF to our tracks folder. And the only adjustment I need to make to the PTF is the name of it. And the naming conventions that I always use for the PTFs, it always includes the final track name when I'm saving and adjusting things to it. The only thing I have to step out is what that PTF relates to. So in this case, you know, with underscore divided by underscores, that way I only have to do it like that. So that should load in the game now, because that matches not only the folder, the DAT file, and the PTF. This should all match. And if I wanted to, necessarily, this is what you can do if you're making PTF adjustments to ensure that your PTF is named the same. You can copy the name of the DAT file from, you know, in the properties of the DAT file, and then paste that name into there and under the PTF, so you can ensure that it's the same. Alright, so with all that done, that should load our model now with that animation node to it, so that the frames actually will move. So I'll go ahead and load that up to verify that. So we'll go into single race. The only thing we're concerned with is race at this point. That's the only one we haven't been able to confirm that all of them work. Alright, so let that track load for a second or two. Alright, so we're in practice here. It's on the static screen yet, so just to verify. So I'm just going to go right to race. And
Drivers, to your cars.
see, something didn't work because they're still static. Okay, so I gotta figure out what that's all about now. Let's see. Yeah, the frames are still static, so that's not good. So, it comes down to... Alright, I'm gonna use my advice. I'm gonna ensure that the PTF is named exactly the same as the PTF. So I'll do a rename. It should be, but just to make sure. Okay, so we have our 3DO. So I'm just reassuring everything is in here. So 2, 3, 4 is all the frames. Okay, so that should, in theory, work. It's switching to that first frame, so that's a good sign. But, let's see here. I might have to check the integrity of the actual 3DO to see if, because it may be a matter of needing all those TGAs in there. I guess when it compiles the 3DO, it may be that matter. And I think I've gone through this before. It's been a while since I've done this, but I think that's what it comes down to. Whenever you're compiling an animated thing there, you might need all the files that are related to it to make it. So let's go ahead and try this again. And if it doesn't work, then I know that's probably the issue. And you'll find yourself doing this a lot as far as just, okay, so it's on that screen, good. Yeah, so I think what's happening, and I'm gonna check the integrity, yeah, it's
Drivers, to your car.
still static. It's on the right frame as far as the first one, but, okay, so something didn't work. So either I might have spelled animation wrong, I'll have to check that too. That's possible. That's always possible too. Let me check the integrity of this 3DO first, because I didn't necessarily do that. Alright, so let's make sure all those frames are in there. Okay, screen 2, 3, 4, yeah, so you can see all the screens right here. Yep, so they're all in there, so it should do it. It may be, and that happens sometimes, but it might be in Sandbox that I spelled animation wrong or something like that. Let's see what it did. Alright, just give that a second or two to load. Alright, so now that's loaded. Now let's go into Object. And just need to bring up Colossus Screens. And I sure did. I spelled it wrong. So I got a nomination. See, and that's what happens. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. Yep, that's what it did. So animation. I spelled animation wrong. So add that back in. We'll do our 52 frames. Got to spell it right, that's for sure. So 15 frames. Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead and save over that, because that should be fine. It's really, and I've preached this all the time as far as like saving it as a new PTF every time you make changes to the track. If it's related to the same thing over and over again, most cases it doesn't hurt any. It's like when you're making major changes or changes that are different than what you're dealing with. In this case, it's this particular object that you want to save it as a new PTF. It not only helps you in understanding what happened with that PTF, but you're not stepping on and potentially corrupting, I guess, your original previous PTF. So I want to make that abundantly clear as far as that goes. Alright, so Yeah, go back to geometry and just save this as this. I'm gonna just do it this way. So I just noticed I didn't change it back to geometry. That's another thing. That is necessary. Okay, so I'm gonna close that out. Now I'm gonna delete this PTF. We don't need that anymore. That one's bogus. So now we're gonna go into here and grab this PTF again. So it gives you somewhat of an idea too what you would want to check for when you're doing these types of things. So yeah, so I should have been able to just, whoop. You know what? I guess I just realized that was named wrong anyway. Okay, so it was named wrong anyway. What one was I in there? Okay, so maybe that PTF was named improperly anyway. Oh, I noticed my playlist is gone dead again. Just a second. Find us some more musics. Okay, let's see what else we have here. What do we want? I do have... Yeah, we can do this one. Why not? Yeah, let's do this one. This is pretty good, dude. Alright, so let's...
Machine shop, how you doing tonight?
properties.
You guys ready for some oleander?
Copy that.
In the meantime, we're Mercy Beach. Hope you like what we do here. This is called
Rename
Shake Your
it.
Dance.
Paste that in there. So now I know that PTF is named the same as that, as well as the... Alright. So... Yep, so that should be all good. So now maybe we should be able to go back into there and it should work. So what that basically... What the problem then it was is I spelled animation wrong as far as for that node. But going through that process of, figuring out, did I name the PTF right or what have you, just in most cases, if the track is loading like it was like that, it's going to be something like that. Be it the fact that we're replacing an existing piece that's already on the PTF. So that's good there in that session. So go to erase. Now we got our animated frames. Now you can see the animated frames.
Drivers,
We
to
can
your
go from
cars.
the two vantage points here, so you can see our animated frames are working. And that's about all it is to it. Just like that, you have your animated frames. And I guess I did start this race out, I guess, with the half lap. As opposed to them being on pit road. I don't remember if that's necessarily the way we set this track up, I guess, to have that on there as far as pit road. I don't remember. Not going to go into all that. What this was all about tonight was creating an object that has animated video frames on it. So, as you're watching this, I don't know if you can see this very well. As far as on the screen, you can see how that loops. There's no drastic changes in it. It just looks like it's making laps around the track, even though that it's only one end of the track. As far as between turns 1 and 2, which is the far end of the track, as far as that's what we base it on, the replay from inside the simulation itself. You can see how it, it needs to be nice and fluid. You don't want a drastic, something that shows up that's really obvious, as far as to make it glitch in the actual screen. You want to make it as fluid and smooth as possible. So that's another reason why I necessarily, choose that number of frames to keep it optimized. And, yeah, so I'm just kind of observing how that looks. It's like it looks pretty good. I mean, as far as how that, there's no major abruptness to it. It's just nice and smooth. The way the angles change, like that, it looks like it's, the cars are actually doing laps. And that was the whole intention of creating it the way I did. So, I was hoping maybe to have something I could do really quick. I'm really curious. I want to get that cam hack to work, and I know you gotta be in your vehicle to do that. So let me go ahead and do that really quick here. Just really quick. Alright, so just bear with me a second here, folks. I'm going to get the cam hack that I tried earlier working properly. Let's put this up here. Alright, so yeah, let's try and do this. You got to do this in the vehicle. Alright, we'll see if we can't get this to work. So I'm going to go into single race. So like if I was going to testing, it would just show that static screen all the time. I can show that too, just to make sure that it's working. Okay, so I'm going to go right to race. Go to drive.
Drivers, start your engine.
And then what I'm going to do, I can't do that. I just remembered that. Crap. Alright, here, let me go. Alright, hold on a second. I gotta get the wheel. Bear with me a little.
Alright, man, pace cars in. Get ready. Grind.
Gotta get my wheel. I didn't think I was gonna need that, but
Tailor's out. Digging. Caution's gonna be out. All the way to the line. All the way to the line. Hit road's closed.
alright, let's shift this.
Pace cars in turn 2. Clear to the wall.
I think it caution came up because I was in the middle of the darn track. We were trying to avoid it.
Leader's coming up.
Ah!
The hell happened now?
Hold on.
Okay, bud, race is over. Can you tell me what you're doing, buddy? Both ends of this car.
I don't have the wheel hooked up all that great, so it's necessarily giving me an issue. Alright, there we go.
Stay behind. There's one car.
So, let's see here. I was trying to get a view of these.
Remember, just get it
Yeah, I'm
stopped
not
where
worried
the
about
sign is. Hey, start down the back stretch. My man,
So I was trying to get a view of the screens.
I repeat, second time by. Stay behind.
You can see the screens working there.
You gotta go to the back. It goes to be 35. Eagle man, remember, 35. 102nd gear.
I can't get another
Let him go.
different view here. I guess it's kind of showing, but you can kind of get a sense for those.
Stay behind. There's one car.
Turn them off. Trying to get this to where you can see the actual screens. You can see the screens working this way. So this is one way. You can check it out that way. Alright. But another way, you can get out here. And let's check our spectator view. That should. Let's put it on a different car.
This call, I've got 99 problems.
Let's see if this will show this way.
Ain't one.
But another way I can do it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get this camera control master to work here for me. It already black flagged me, so it's not going to let me back in. Let me restart this. I'll do it this way, and I'll get out of the way.
Drivers, start your
I'll just get
engine.
into the infield there. Yeah, I'll do it this way. This will work. those it kind of gives you an idea of just how high up that thing is too. As far as, so I'm gonna do this.
All right, man. Pace cars in. Get
Then,
ready.
so I
Crank,
can-
crank, crank, crank.
Oh, and I just remembered I can't do that because I've got those all set on my scene transitions. So that's kind of a rip on me. Okay, so yeah, that's about the only way I can really show you how that works. Because if I was to, I might have to
Clear to the
rethink.
wall. They're all clear. All clear. Go hard.
So that's about the only way I can really show you, to be honest.
Dawson's gonna be out. Okay, bud. Race is over. Can you tell me what you're doing, buddy?
So yeah, let me try this again. We'll go back into spectator. So you really can't see it in this one, and I could. Those cameras, these cameras can necessarily be adjusted, so you could. I don't have them adjusted that way, but they could be adjusted and you could check it that way, but you get the idea as far as the animated frames are actually working. That might be something I consider now that I think of it. See if that comes into view, which it don't. Nope. So I think what I might do is actually adjust like the spectator camera just to have that Colossus in view. That's something I might look into for this track. So, more adjustments, more tweaks to be made, I guess, so we can take advantage of that new object. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get out of that. Everything is working, seems to be okie dokie, which is what we were trying to accomplish in the first place. So, be it the fact that we're coming up right on the 3 hours into the stream, that's a perfect time. That's what I usually try to keep these streams about that long. You know, hopefully that's plenty of information we have available to you as far as creating your own animated object, as far as video screens or what have you. And with all that said, didn't really have a whole lot of interaction in the chat tonight, which that's something else I was looking at. That's not an issue. The stream will necessarily get put up on YouTube as an archive within the next week for the next stream, which will hopefully be on time, as opposed to doing it late. We were a day late this time, this week, so hopefully we'll try not to let that happen again. Want to appreciate everybody that necessarily just stopped by the stream and lurked and caught a few tidbits of information there. Very much appreciated. Feel free to stick around, I guess, for the host once the stream ends, and check out. Don't forget to hit the follow button if you liked what you. I'm gonna turn this off here for a second. If you necessarily liked what you saw tonight, don't forget to hit that follow button to catch it next week. Like we said, we'll try to stay on time as far as having it normally on Saturdays. Wednesdays, engage in Wreckfest Wednesdays, supporting Wounded Warrior Project. And on Fridays, we do a little bit of farming in Farm Simulator 17. And we'll continue those for the coming weeks until something else comes along. But yeah, for sure, if any of those things necessarily interest you, make sure to hit that follow button so you get the notifications for those. But with all that, I appreciate everybody that stopped by, and thank you for watching.